Welcome to today's New Economy Fireside Chat series with me. I'm your host, Ashish Mehra, Chief Research Officer at Markets and Markets. At M&M, we take great pride in transforming market intelligence into revenue impact for our clients. We focus our research on disruptive emerging technologies and futuristic trends which would lead to significant shifts in your revenues in the coming 5 to 10 years. Through these fireside chats, our objective is to share actionable insights on new revenue growth opportunities emanating from disruptions in your ecosystem. And these insights are predominantly based on the client work that we've done, as well as our own research. Continuing our theme of sustainability from the last two talks, where we spoke about decarbonization and plastic recycling, our talk today is on green chemicals. And I'm very pleased to welcome my guest today, Lakshmi, who heads our chemicals and materials practice. Lakshmi, very warm welcome. Would you want to say a quick hello?
Thanks, Ashish. Hi, I'm Lakshmi Narayanan. I'm heading Chemicals and Materials Division of Markets and Markets. I take this opportunity to present my views and thoughts on green chemicals, and the opportunities lies in front of every company in this ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. So, Lakshmi, why don't we start with defining what we mean by green chemicals? What are the various sources for green chemicals? And why is this becoming a top CXO agenda today?
Yeah, the name itself implies that the green chemicals are from green or sustainable sources. We can classify these sources into three main categories. One is CCUS, the second one is bio-based, the third one is green hydrogen source. Let's take the first one, CCUS, that is carbon capture and storage. So here, a lot of carbon is getting emitted from various end-use industries, whether it is steel or whether it is mining or whether it is coal or any refineries or chemical industries. So the carbon that's getting emitted from these industries are captured, stored, and used to make chemicals. The companies which are actively operating in this space are Exxon, Siemens, Fluor, Mitsubishi, etc. Let's come to the second one, that is bio-based. Here, the companies such as BASF, Exxon, Chevron, or Braskem, they use plant source or bacterial source to produce various types of chemical. And again, reiterating, this is fairly commercialized and a lot of chemicals are produced and commercially available in the marketplace that is used by various industries, whether it is CPG or packaging. So now let's come to the third one, that is green hydrogen. Huge disruption has happened in the past 10 years in the energy space. There is a heavy penetration of solar and wind energy that is replacing conventional ones. So here, the energy that is produced from these kind of sources, whether it is solar or wind, that is the renewable ones, are used to make chemicals. How are we using those types of energy to make chemicals? Is the energy produced from these sources are used to convert water or split water molecule into hydrogen oxygen using a fuel cell, and that hydrogen produced from that source is used to make various chemicals. So this is from green hydrogen. This is called green hydrogen. Chemicals from green hydrogen. If you see all these three categories have tremendous potential in next 10 years.
So let's talk a bit about that. So, what is the baseline today? What percentage of the total market is green chemicals today? And where do you see this headed, let's say, over the next 10 to 20 years, let's say by 2035 or so?
Right now, if you look at the scenario, the penetration of green chemicals into a conventional one is less than 10%. Maybe we can say 7 or 8%. But in next 10 years down the line, the penetration will be somewhere around 15 to 20%. In $1 billion or value terms, this will be somewhere between $230 to $260 billion. So 230 will be the pessimistic one, whereas 260 will be the optimistic one. So that is the volume of opportunity this chemical or the green chemical offers. So the factors which are driving here is maybe you can say this regulations, or it is the consumer behavior pattern. So these are all some of the things that drives the growth of green chemicals.
So Lakshmi, for this to happen, obviously there has to be a big pull coming from the customer side, right? And
Yes.
some of the biggest end users are obviously CPG, agri, and others.
Yes.
So are we really seeing a significant shift in their demand, let's say, for biodegradable colorants or biodegradable polymers, ingredients, and so on? And what kind of targets have they set for their formulations to be biodegradable?
It's a fantastic question, Ashish. This is exactly the challenge that entire industry is facing. To understand the dynamics, what companies are doing, and what kind of norms they are following, and what is the preference when it comes to the biodegradable ingredients. To understand all these things, we did a survey across the companies in CPG as well as packaging category. So what we found out is almost 55% the brand prefers environmentally safe natural colorants in their products. Out of this 55%, only 5% of brand prefer to use biodegradable colorants in their products. So this is what we have found. So only 5% they prefer fully biodegradable colorants. Because if you look at any of the formulation, whether it is detergents or home care chemicals or any CPG type of product, the base material will be definitely, yes, it will be fully biodegradable. But if you look at the small things like colorant or any other additives, the usage is less than 0.2% or 0.3% for each one of these things. So not much of interest is shown to have this also fully biodegradable. But why this 5% people are preferring, or the 5% brands are preferring, is only because of the tag, 100% green tag, so they can sell it at a premium. So this is a scenario. So what we found out is when it comes to these ingredients, the brands usually prefer environmentally safe natural colorants rather than going for 100% biodegradable colorants. And the norms they follow in accordance with OECD norms, it is fairly widely followed, or US FDA or EPA norms or any of the Euro norms. So they follow all these norms, and they have their methodology to find out how inherently the product is biodegradable or not with the different test methods.
And what about a shift towards biodegradable plastics as well? You know, like let's say EHA. Is that also being demanded by CPG companies, and by when do we see some of this become mainstream?
So to understand the shift from a conventional plastic to the biodegradable ones such as PHA, we did a survey across the value chain in the CPG industry. So some of the suppliers sampling includes Kaneka Corporation, Danimer Scientific, New Light Technologies, and some of the customer survey that includes Nestle, PepsiCo, Genpact, WinCup, Coca-Cola, Amcor, Henkel, Mondi, Unilever, L'Oreal. So these are all the companies we shortlisted for doing a survey. And what we found out is there is a huge propensity existing across various market players to shift from the conventional ones to the biodegradable ones. For instance, one of the top executives of Nestle, he is very clear that the Nestle is aiming to reduce the use of plastics by 1/3 by 2025. In the past, they have used recycled PET to minimize the environmental impact. But in case of some of the BU such as Nestle Water, they need more eco-friendly solution. So they have collaborated with Danimer Scientific to produce PHA, and that is moving into a right direction. So that is what Nestle is aiming at. So similarly, if you look at Pepsi, they earlier used PLA, which has been widely used, but the results were not satisfactory. So, and it further degraded the consumer experiences. So now they see PHA as a better option. So now again they are collaborating with some of the companies like Kaneka and Dynamo Scientific to produce suitable or eco-friendly plastics, especially PHA, in order to help Pepsi to achieve sustainability goal. So these are all some of the feedback of major customers from CPG and packaging industry preferring biodegradable plastics such as PHA instead of a conventional ones. So the same thing goes with Henkel or Unilever. Companies like Henkel and Unilever, they started to prefer biodegradable in their formulation as well, like home care or kitchenware, or maybe you can say detergents, anything, or personal care.
That's quite interesting. Let me switch over to something that you mentioned up front, which was around green hydrogen. So do you see opportunities for manufacturing chemicals from green hydrogen in the near future? And if so, which chemicals have a high commercialization potential? You just talk a bit through that.
Yes, Ashish. Green hydrogen chemicals is an amazing technology for the future. Here, we are collaborating with various industry leaders in understanding or studying the commercialization potential of various chemicals that are made out of green hydrogen. So, what we found is there are certain chemicals which are fully commercialized, and customers have started using it. And there are certain chemicals which are at pilot stage, and there are certain chemicals are still at the R&D stage. So, if you look at fully commercialized one, first thing comes to my mind is the ammonia. So the ammonia production that goes into fertilizer, that has a huge potential. That's commercialized completely. And the another one which comes to my mind is hydrogenation of fats and oil. So that is hydrogenated fats and oil. Again, that finds application in food industry and other CPG industries such as cosmetics, even in lubricant industry or pharma industry. So these are all the industries where hydrogenated fats and oils are widely used, and that is fully commercialized, huge potential. And apart from that, there is sulfur removal from the refining feedstock, that is commercialized. So these are all certain chemicals that comes to my mind. They are fully commercialized. There are other chemicals which are at pilot stage. They have shown promising result, but they are still at pilot stage. For example, methanol value chain. Some chemicals in methanol value chains are fully commercialized, some are not. For instance, if you take methanol blending in biodiesel, that is commercialized and that has a huge potential. And there are certain chemicals that are still at R&D stage. For instance, usage of hydrogen as a getter gas in float glass manufacturing, that is still at R&D stage. And in welding technology, hydrogen is being widely used. That is still at the nascent stage or at the R&D stage. That is yet to be commercialized. So these are all the areas. And again, if you look at semiconductor industry, hydrogen is used as etching of wafers and everything. That got fairly a good success at a pilot stage. So this is the scenario of hydrogen chemicals, green hydrogen chemicals. But one thing here I want to mention is the challenge that industry is facing. The cost is too high for green hydrogen chemicals. For example, the cost of storage or the transportation, or if you look at the cost of fuel cell, so these are all adding up to the total cost. So
let's switch tracks a bit and talk about revenue opportunities for various players. We obviously have raw material suppliers like a BASF, formulators like a Dow or a Henkel, etc. So when it comes to end use industries, where do you see the biggest demand for green chemicals? If you could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, yes, Ashish. To understand the incremental revenue opportunity that green chemicals offers to various stakeholders in the value chain, we did multiple studies, the level of penetration and what is that current state of industry. For instance, if you look at this packaging or CPG or textiles or automotive or transportation or healthcare, so what is the volume of conventional chemical that is used here, and what is the penetration level of these green chemicals into this conventional chemicals or plastics. So all these things we studied, and we found that these green chemicals or plastics provide $3 billion opportunity, that is incremental revenue opportunity to stakeholders across the value chain. So that is the potential, and this is forecasted value. This $3 billion is a forecasted value for next 10 to 12 years down the line. Okay, so it is after 10 years. So if you look at the industry which is going to lead the pack, which are all the industry which are going to lead the pack, that is, one is packaging and next one is CPG. So these two industries are going to lead the pack, and out of total 230 or 260 billion dollars which I mentioned before, these two industries will have a major chunk, almost 60 to 70% each, and followed by textile as well as agriculture. So these two industries, textile and agriculture, will have a moderate penetration, as well as healthcare. Healthcare will also have a moderate penetration. But however, the industries such as automotive, transportation or aerospace, where require high performance, the penetration level will be pretty low. So this is what we have found out in our studies. And if it comes to packaging, especially the penetration level will be more for food packaging, healthcare packaging, and cosmetic packaging, and shipping bags. These are all the areas where the penetration will be more, and incremental revenue opportunity will also be very high. And CPG, again, detergent, fabric care, food and beverages, cosmetics. So these are all the areas in CPG where penetration level will be more, and these two will approximately have 60% of this $250 billion value revenue, incremental revenue opportunities in 2035. And in textiles, good potential opportunity is envisaged in apparels and technical textiles. And similarly, if you look at agriculture, lot of areas such as obviously this fertilizers or crop protection chemicals, so like pesticides, insecticides. So these are all the areas where green chemicals will have a bigger role to play.
Which countries or regions are likely to be the biggest growth drivers for green chemicals?
Yeah, one thing we need to know here is the cost of or the price of green chemicals is substantially higher than the conventional ones. So there are a couple of things required here to increase or accelerate the adoption of green chemicals. So one is regulation, and the second one is the consumer behavioral pattern, a change in consumer behavioral pattern. In other words, it mainly depends upon the price which consumer is willing to pay, or the premium price a customer is willing to pay. So one is regulation, then second one is the customer behavioral pattern. So now, if you take regulation, these developed countries, especially in Europe or North America or Japan or China, they have their regulation in place, sustainability goals in place, by which they have accelerated the adoption of green chemicals. Not only the countries, even every companies, like if you take Evonik or DuPont or Dow or BASF, any Fortune companies, Fortune 500 companies, they have documented their sustainability goal. For example, if you take Nestle, how much part production they are going to change or convert in next 3 to 4 years. Same thing applies for Coca-Cola or P&G, Unilever. So all the CPG companies have clearly documented what is their sustainability goal and when they are going to achieve it. So regulations plus the sustainability goal and the consumer behavioral pattern. For example, if Nestle is willing to change, they have to buy product from any big companies like Milliken or Dow. So obviously, yes, if everyone has accepted a green tag, then obviously they will be willing to pay the premium. So these developed countries and the companies having headquarters in these developed countries, they are going to lead the pack. Even MGC, Mitsubishi in Japan, Mitsubishi or Sumitomo. So every companies are having their sustainability goal well documented in their annual report. So they are going to lead the pack. And This will be followed by developing countries, either it is India or any East Asian countries. They will be following it up in next 5 to 7 years down the line. So this is the scenario existing in the marketplace with respect to that option as well as the regulation.
Anything you'd like to summarize from a green chemical market opportunity standpoint for our audience, Lakshmi?
What I would like to state here is the current level of acceptance and the future level of acceptance. So according to our studies and surveys, what we have found out is the current level of acceptance is somewhere between 1 to 2%. And by 2025, this level of acceptance will go up to anywhere between 5 to 10%. And by 2030, the level of acceptance is expected to be somewhere around 10 to 15%. So obviously, yes, the level of acceptance is going up, and proportionately the penetration of green chemicals will also go up, and it will provide huge opportunities for all the stakeholders, and their revenue growth opportunities will also be proportionately increased. But however, the need of the hour is the intense collaboration between the end-use industry players and the suppliers of green chemicals. So the end-use industry players may be CPG, maybe packaging, or agri, textiles, healthcare, etc. And companies may be Coke, Pepsi, P&G, Unilever, Mondi, or any other packaging companies or companies playing in agri arena. Similarly, if you look at the suppliers, the players will be Dow, DuPont, Evonik, Exxon, Chevron, Mitsubishi, Sumitomo, etc. So this intense collaboration between both these parties is the need of the hour. And what the expected outcome from this collaboration, according to our studies, are the expected outcomes are: the first one is the cost reduction, the second one is the production optimization or the economies of scale, how to scale up the volumes. Second, the third one is the winning formulation. The winning formulation at R&D stage, as well as at the pilot stage, and as well as at the mass production stage. So this holds the key for the adoption of green chemicals and the growth opportunities available for various stakeholders existing in the value chain. So this is what I would like to state and conclude, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Thank you all. I hope you enjoyed listening to this talk on green chemicals. We'll see you again next week.